I am Cato and I am going to describe Fighting Angels by Mr. Standaard. It was made in 1972. It's situated in Arendshof, between the museums Groothuizen and Groeningen. The work of art is a copy of the statue from 1781, attributed to Pieter Post. The statue is placed underneath a pavilion supported by 6 pillars. It contains 2 naked fighting angels standing on a column. It's made of marble, which feels cold and smooth. You can feel that the 2 heads of the angels are situated at the top of the statue. The left angel is taller than the right angel. Both of them have natural facial expression and are a bit chubby. They have curly hair. The 2 of them are looking downwards. A bit further down, you can feel the right arm of the left angel grabbing the other one's shoulder. At the same height, but on the other side, you feel the wings of the angels. The left arm of the right angel ends at the toga that reaches the ground in between the angels. Going down even further, we reach their feet at the pillar on which they are standing. Between the legs of the left angel lies a torch. Between the angels there are 2 doves with their wings spread, facing each other. At the feet of the angels lies a case containing arrows.
I'm Simon and I'm going to describe the statue. It is titled A Bouquet of Flowers for Frank van Acker and is made by Stefan de Puit and Livia Canestraro. It's situated on the Dever in Bruges. It was placed there as a remembrance for Frank van Acker, a former major. The work of art is made out of bronze and such a bouquet of flowers. It's difficult to describe the sculpture because there are a lot of elements in a small area. So we will describe the statue in a general way. It stands on a little platform of about 30 centimeters high. On that platform you find a vase with a diameter of about 1 meter. This vase looks like a cylinder and contains a lot of flowers, about 20 of them, but they are difficult to count. The vase feels coarse. The flowers have a small and smooth stem that also looks like a cylinder. The top of the flowers is also very coarse with a lot of protrusions. These protrusions suggest the leaf of the flowers. These leaves stand on top of the stems. The whole statue comes up to your waist.
My name is Adelia. The statue that I'm going to describe is titled Papageno. It is made by the artist Jeff Clarenhout in 1980. He was born in 1937 in Tielt, Belgium. He is a modern sculptor who makes sculptures in bronze. The statue is situated in front of the theater in Bruges, Vlamingstraat 29. It is a character from the opera Die Zauberflöte from Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Papageno plays in the opera a bird catcher. He is a man wearing bird clothes. The statue is made of bronze and you feel that it has a smooth texture. You feel immediately that it is cold. If you tap on the statue, you will hear a hollow sound. Because the statue stands on a pedestal, you will first feel his feet. You will notice that he wears sandals. When you follow his legs up, you will find out that he wears a broad belt. At the back of the belt hangs a bird cage with 3 birds in it. You will notice that he has wings just above the bird cage on his back. If you feel his right hand, then you will feel 4 trumpets. There is a bird on Papageno's head. but you can't feel it because it's too high.
The Wounded Angel. In this painting, which was painted by Hugo Simberg, there's two gloomy-looking boys carrying an angel on a stretcher with a bloody wound in her wing. First, one of the boys is staring to the ground as he is walking, while the other boy is staring straight to the viewer. The angel has a bandage on her head, and her head is hanging low as if she was in shame or in pain. Background is barren and cold looking, and you can see a lake in the distance. There's also little flowers and one smaller tree. Overall, the theme in this painting is melancholic, but also very calming. The angel's whiteness stands out in also colorless landscape, pointing out the innocence that she has.
Burning the Brasswood is an oil painting made by Eera Järnefelt. In the painting, there are 6 people working and burning the forest. The main character is a little blonde girl with a sad face. She's wearing dirty white shirt and brown skirt, and she has dirt in her face. She's the only one whose face you can see in the painting, and she's in the middle of it. Next to her, there is a man working with a hat and racket gloves. In the background of the painting, there are other 4 persons working. They are working in a high hill, and downhill you can see more forested hills. Those forested hills are bluish and bright, but in the area where the girl and others are, the ground is grey and gloomy. In the background, where the other people are working, there is some fire and smoke.
Leikkiviä poikia rannalla. Leikkiviä poikia rannalla, which translates to children playing on a beach, is an oil painting made by one of the greatest Finnish painters, Albert Edelfelt. The painting was made in 1884, and its current location is Atheneum Museum of Art in Helsinki, Finland. In the forefront of the picture, there are 3 children standing on a beach and playing with a small boat made of wood. 2 of these children are standing on rocks in water, and one of them is on shore, apparently testing the temperature of the water. In the background, there is a pretty typical Finnish lake scenery. There are few islands and a cargo ship on the left side of the children. A small town with its chimneys can also be seen in the left side of the painting. Edelfelt is well known to be a skilled painter, especially when it comes to light and the reflections of light and water. Leikkiviä poikia rannalla is a great display of the time Edelfelt has spent observing the physics of light and water. Also, the modest clothing, or rather lack of it, is also quite worthy of noticing. Edelfelt tried to capture normal people and normal sceneries in his paintings, and Leikkiviä poikia rannalla is a great example of it.
The Penitent Magdalene. The Penitent Magdalene is a golden wooden sculpture of Mary Magdalene. It was created around 1453-1455 by the great Italian Renaissance sculptor Donatello, probably commissioned for the Baptistery of Florence. It is currently housed in the Museo dell'Opera del Duomo in Florence. The statue is 1.88 meters and represents Holy Mary Magdalene, who is as tall as an odious man. Donatello used the white poplar. Donatello studied classical sculpture and used these styles to develop a complete new Renaissance style in sculpture, working with stone, bronze, wood, clay, stucco, and wax. The sculpture of the Penitent Magdalene was somehow revolutionary for its styles. It was received with astonishment for its extraordinary realism. Mary Magdalene was a popular figure. She had been a prostitute before meeting Jesus, who changed her life forever. She spent 30 years repenting in the desert. Donatello's depiction represents her while she is leaving the desert. Donatello's gaunt, emaciated figure differs greatly from the most depiction, which show a beautiful young woman near the perfect high heels. Mary Magdalene is standing on her bare feet, destined to be attached to the ground, because the artist wants to underline our human earthly nature. Magdalene is also the symbol of all mankind, who try to be uplifted to the spiritual level. She is bare, but her body is completely covered by her long shabby hair, that is like a sleeveless dress, as long as to touch her knees. When she was an earthly woman, her hair had been her greatest beauty. Now it is neglected and careless. Her arms come out for a strange dress. They are thin, but despite the fact, her muscles and sinews are in tension. She is about to uniting her hands to pray, but her fingers and palms are not in touch yet. So we can feel the dynamism of the figure, which is also expressed through her head that is slightly leaning to the left. Her face is emaciated, her eyes are sunken, her look is fixed in front of her, her mouth is about to pronounce some words. The penitent Magdalene has sacrificed her physical beauty in order to gain the moral perfection, devoting herself to asceticism, plea, and fast. Now she feels closer to the divine, she has sanctified her soul, she is strong enough to leave the desert, and to tell the world that her redemption is complete, and that their redemption is possible for everyone. Donatello's Magdalene manages to convey the transformation of this prostitute, attached to the material earthly things, into a pure spirit, a soul with focus on the spiritual world. Thanks to detailed and very realistic carvings on the statue, which seem to transfigure Magdalene. With this statue, Donatello becomes the first artist to go beyond the classical idea of beauty, according to which only what is beautiful can be also morally perfect. As a matter of fact, Donatello creates a new moral vision, according to which the interior beauty is morally perfect, and overcomes appearance. Being becomes more ethically correct than seeing.
David is a masterpiece of Renaissance sculpture created between 1501 and 1504 by Michelangelo Buonarroti, the greatest artist of Italian Renaissance, also considered as one of the greatest artists of all time. Originally located in a public square outside Palazzo della Signoria in Florence, in 1873 David was replaced by a full-size replica, and the original statue was moved to Galleria dell'Accademia. The subject chosen by the artist is the biblical hero David, the one who killed the giant Goliath using a simple sling shot. It is possible that David was conceived as a political statue before Michelangelo began to work on it. Certainly David, the giant killer, had long been seen as a political figure in Florence. As a matter of fact, in its original location, his frowning eyes looked towards Rome, which at that time was an enemy of Florence. David is a 5.17-meter white marble statue, just the height of 3 people together, smooth to touch, standing on a basement of marble itself in form of a rock. If you could step over it, you would find that his feet are about as high as your head. As a consequence, you feel it as towering over you. David represented is a nude, slender young man with a very muscular body. Touching it, you could feel how tense and defined his muscles and sinews are, since the moment represented is the one just before the battle, so he looks tense and ready for combat, a moment between conscious choice and action. His hair is short and curly, his head turns to the left, his forehead is frowned, his brow is drawn, his eyes are frowning, his neck tense, and the veins bulge out of his lowered right hand. You could even feel the veins as he clutches the stones with his right hand and a slingshot in the other, which is leant on his left shoulder. The twist of his body effortlessly conveys the feeling that he is in motion, standing with most of its weight on his right foot, so that its shoulders and arms twist off axis from the hips and legs. David stands with his right leg holding its full weight and his left leg forward. This classic pose causes the figure's hips and shoulders to rest at opposing angles, giving a slight askew to the entire torso. The proportions of the David are atypical of Michelangelo's work. His right hand is not proportionate to the figure. As a matter of fact, it is somehow too big, but that was not a mistake of the artist. The hand is the tool the artist uses to free the statue, which is already inside the marble. So he wanted to underline the importance of the hand for the hero as well as for the artist. Both have a challenge to face. Michelangelo indeed could see the statue inside the marble before starting to carve. Also, the head of the young man is a little smaller than it should be, because Michelangelo considered the point of view of the observer, who is down respect the statue, which is more than 5 meters, not counting the pedestal. Michelangelo's David has become one of the most recognized works of Renaissance sculpture, a symbol of strength and youthful beauty. The colossal size of the statue impressed Michelangelo's contemporaries. Giorgio Vasari, a famous art historian, described it as certainly a miracle that of Michelangelo to restore to life one who was dead. The statue of Hercules and Nemean lion. The statue of Hercules, who is fighting the Nemean lion, is the symbol of Policoro. It is in bronze and it was forged by a local artist, Tonino Cortese, who is well known in Italy. It is situated in the main square, which is named after the Grecian mythological hero Hercules, to whom the town was dedicated by its first Greek inhabitants in the 4th century before Christ. Hercules was a Greek hero, son of the father of the gods, Zeus, and the mortal Alcmene. Hercules is known for his many adventures, which took him to the far reaches of the Greek-Roman world. His adventures became famous as the 12 Lepers. The Nemean lion was a vicious monster in Greek mythology that lived at Nemea. It could not be killed with mortal weapons, because its golden fur was impervious to attack. Its claws were sharper than mortal swords and could cut through any armor. According to the legend, the Nemean lion took women as hostages to its lair in a cave. The statue is on a marble parallelepiped pedestal 2 meters high, just like as an adult. The marble is hammered, not smooth, but rough to touch. The statue represents Hercules while he is strangling the Nemean lion. The hero is about 1.80 meters tall, young and naked, with long hair and long beard. His body is strong and muscular, following the classical tradition. The lion is very well built, strong, and represented dynamically in the fight. Both the figures are dynamic in order to convey the tension of the struggle between two extraordinary creatures. They form a triangle. The left side is Hercules' body, who is leaning forward. His left leg is leaning towards the lion, which is the right side of the triangle. The lion is pointing 2 of its paws against Hercules' left leg, while its tail is touching the ground. Hercules is strangling the lion with his bare hands. It seems Hercules is hugging the lion, which has its left paw on Hercules' right arm. Hercules, indeed, is grabbing it so strongly that the lion, despite its efforts, does not manage to free itself from this deadly embrace. Both the figures are powerful and strong. The Greek hero succeeds in winning this terrible fight, but his face does not reveal any emotion or weirdness, because the artist, Tonino Cortese, follows the principles of the classical Greek art, according to which the faces of the statues had to be expressionless, to exalt and intensify the interior greatness of the creature they represented.
Sculpture The Dragon. The sculpture is coiled on the wall and is 3.5 meters long. It is made of steel and was created by Vytautas Karčiauskas as a gift to the city. It evokes the legend of a swampy foot, Copia, one of the version of origins of the city's name. It was believed that in the beginning there were two twin brothers wandering in this area. One of the brothers was swallowed by a dragon. The dragon left a huge claw mark, Klampipeda, and flew away. The other brother remained and found in the city named Klaipėda. So the statue reminds us the origin of the city's name. The body of the sculpture is red with golden claws. The shape of the creature is thin and winding. It has no wings, but it has claws and a sharp beak. The creature's face is angry. Its mouth is opened, as if it is preparing to swallow somebody. The statue was described by Martina. Sculpture Old Town Cat. The granite and marble sculpture of a cat has been an object of attraction for many years. It is situated in Klaipėda Old Town Center. The cat is extraordinary. It has a face of a gentleman. It was created by Midvikis in 1979. It has a long body as well as a long tail. The citizens of Klaipėda believe that if you stroke its tail, it can make your wish come true. The cat is fixed onto the pavement. It is captured in a slow-paced posture, as if having nowhere to hurry. The shape of a cat has rounded smooth angles, so it is very pleasant to stroke it. The statue brings happiness to everyone that sees it. The statue was described by Martina.
Sculpture The Magical Mouse. In Klaipėda Old Town, in Kurpi Street, a little mouse is settled down. The sculpture is created by local artists Jurkus and Plotnikovas from their own funds. This bronze and stone creation is only 17 centimeters high. The little mouse is magical. It fulfills wishes. All you have to do is whisper your wishes and desires into its ear, and they will come true. If you come closer to the statue, you will notice a writing engraved onto it. The mouse will turn your thoughts into words, and the words will become miracles. The little mouse has to be very attentive and patient. It has to hear all wishes. That's why its ears are very large. It stands on two back legs with front legs put together, patiently waiting for another whisperer. Its head is raised, waiting for a whisper, and they kiss. The statue was described by Lucrezia. Sculpture Chimney Sweeper. A bronze statue chimney sweeper sits on the roof of Fisherman Pub in Klaipėda Old Town. The statue is put on the roof of a high building to be visible from far away. Beneath, there is a square where craft fairs take place. The purpose of the statue was to bring back happiness and attractiveness to the old town, to cheer up people and add warmth. The sculpture is quite big, about 2.3 meters high. The chimney sweeper is dressed in a suit. He has a big hat on his head and a scarf folded around his neck with its loose ends waving in the air. In his right hand he is holding a short ladder. He keeps his left hand close to his mouth, as if cheering citizens from high above the building. Chimney sweepers used to mean extraordinary luck to those who happened to catch a glimpse of them. It's believed that touching even a button of a chimney sweeper will bring you luck. However, as there is no way of touching the sculpture, it being on a roof, a button of the chimney sweeper is embedded inside the wall of the building for those who wish to take luck into their own hands. The statue described by Lucrezia.
The Little Mermaid. At Birja's Bridge, on the right side of Dana River bank, the little ground is decorated by sculpture of the Little Mermaid, which is surfaced like to relax on trolls. The sculptural composition of Marinistic theme, the Little Mermaid, adorns Dana bank from 15 January 2015. She has top of the woman body and tail like a fish. The tail of the Little Mermaid is decorated by coins of litas, former currency of Lithuania. The author of the sculpture, Claudius Pudimas, states that the Little Mermaid has magical powers. Everybody, having rubbed snake tangled on her hands, can expect wishes to come true. 114 kilograms of bronze sculpture of the Little Mermaid is a gift of Lithuanian Maritime Academy to Klaipėda city. The statue was described by Camilla.
Sculpture, The Black Ghost. If you have not heard yet about the mystical ghost which has mentioned in all the manuscript, you will now. If you have not seen the horrendous, grotesque figurette, you will. But the best thing is to befriend the spectral creature. Many riches and fortune awaits the daring. Near the castle remains, just past the swing bridge, there is a bronze sculpture of a ghostly silhouette that looks like it's just stepping out of the waterline, via the shoreline. 2.4 meters in height, the sculpture holds its own secret. Everyone who comes near the frightful sculpture will be greeted by it. According to one legend, in 1595, one of Klaipėda's castle guards, Hans von Heidi, saw a ghost. The mystical visitor warned the guard that the city's supplies of grain and timber may be running out, and with that, it vanished, just as it had appeared. Sculptured by Svajūnas Jurgos and Sergejus Plotnikovas, it depicts a hooded and robed ghostly figure climbing out of the murky water, pulling itself onto the dock, its long finger hands protruding from its cloak, gripping a lantern in one hand, and the other resting as the creature pulls itself ashore. The statue was described by Camilla.
Steincheck. Steincheck is an oil painting on canvas 88 cm wide and 120 cm long by Jan Matejko, completed in 1862. The proper title of the painting is Steincheck during a ball at the court of Queen Bona in the face of the loss of Smolensk. It happened during the war with Russia in 1514. Since 1924, the painting Steincheck has been in the possession of the National Museum in Warsaw. The main character, portrayed against a dark background in the center of the painting, is the titular Steincheck, a court jester dressed in a blood-red outfit, sitting on a chair, pensive and worried probably by the fact of the loss of Smolensk by Poland. Behind him, in the upper right-hand corner of the picture, you can see a red-lit scene of the ball. The foreground is created by an image of a dark brown curtain in the bottom left-hand corner of the picture, and a dark, diagonal floor space, which is covered with a patterned carpet in brown hues, better lit than the floor itself. Only the bottom, left-hand corner lies in a shade. Although the figure of the jester is in the background, it is the most prominent feature in the painting. He has a typical red fool's hat on his head, with 3 horn insets in the shape of triangular cones. 2 are placed symmetrically on the sides of his head, sticking out from the head at the height of the ears, slightly bending towards the shoulders. The hat is pointed at the top. Its 3rd horn is hanging over the top of the head in such a way the triangular shape of the fabric is bending down slightly towards the back in the direction of the left arm. Small, round golden bells hang from all the 3 horns of the hat, and in the middle of the hat, from the front of the end of the central horn, there is a row of even smaller bells. The head, covering the entire head, is connected like a hood to a short cape at the neck and thrown over the red kaftan with embroidered sleeves. Stańczyk is wearing very tight pants. The jester's curved wooden armchair is standing slightly sideways towards the bottom left-hand corner of the paintings. For the viewer, the figure of Stańczyk, sitting casually, there is arranged in the same way. We see him slightly sideways to the left. The figure takes approximately 3/4 of the height of the paintings. Sitting very comfortable, Stańczyk has casually outstretched, widely spaced legs and feet, clad in red flat shoes with short uppers. The man is resting his elbows on the arms of the chair. He is holding his hands at the height of his abdomen, fingers laced together. He is slightly tilted forward and is looking down unseen. On his long face you can see reverie and sorrow. He has a high forehead and clearly outlined aquiline nose and expressive dark eyes. He is a dark-haired, middle-aged man with a short beard and mustache. His ears are hidden under the head. Only a small piece of black fringe is protruding from under it. On the left of the chair there is a small, low table covered with a thick, dark golden patterned fabric reaching the floor. There is a document lying on the table. On the bottom of it, a red stamp is visible. Given the historical context, you can guess that this is a proof of the loss of Smolensk. Of the table, there is an open window, but only the bottom right-hand part of it is visible. It is situated in the top left-hand corner of the painting. In the night sky, a few stars and a bright streak, like a comet, are visible, and a Wawel cathedral tower. The comet might symbolize an impending disaster. The shutter, opened to the right, is filled with many small, thick hexagonal panes. It is covered with dark green curtain, hanging freely down and reaching the table. On the carpet on the right of Stańczyk there is a scepter. It is a short stick placed slightly diagonally towards the viewer, ending with a spherical red head. A dark brown curtain is hanging behind the jester, but the top right-hand part of the painting is illuminated with red light. The artist painted there a scene of the ball, dimly visible through an open door, whose left jump is covered with a heavy red cloth. You faintly see a few people standing with their backs to the viewer. On the right, there is a woman in a long dress with a fan in her hand. On her left, there is a bearded man. You can see a part of his right profile. His head, covered with a hat, is leaning to the left towards the floor. Behind their backs there are two dwarfs of the opposite sexes. One of them is holding a lute in his hands. At the left door frame you can only see an elderly, grey-haired man with a face, who is standing facing the viewer. The face of the jester seems to resemble the face of Jan Matejko himself.
Bociane Storks is an oil painting on canvas, 150 cm wide and 198 cm long, by Józef Chełmoński, completed in 1914. After he returned from Manish, where he had studied, Józef Chełmoński spent many years in Kuklówka near Żyrardów. He was a frequent visitor to the Krasiński Palace in Radziejowice, which now holds the largest collection of his works. The painting Bociane is in the possession of the National Museum in Warsaw. In the Hosen painting we can see an elderly man and a boy depicted against the background of a meadow covered with lush grass and tiny flowers. They are watching storks flying high in the sky. Their appearance and the circumstances they are showing indicate that they are country people. The artist didn't care about pronounced contours or detailed presentation. He painted this work with long strokes of the brush, showing no concern for presenting details. The painting is dominated by pastel colors. In the foreground, the man is sitting on the grass with his legs stretched. His centrally placed figure takes almost half of the height of the painting. He is turned aslant towards the bottom left-hand corner. We see him from the perspective of his left profile. He is holding a clay pot with food in his left hand, propping it on his left knee. He is behind his right arm, naturally pressing it to his side, because in his hand he is holding a spoon at the stomach level. He looks as if he stopped eating for a moment and slightly raising his head, is looking at the sky towards the fronts of a flock of several storks. The ones he is looking at are not visible in the picture. The storks are flying in V-tip formation. The man has rings on the neck and face, a prominent straight nose, small deep-set eyes and a large slightly open mouth with the corners slightly dropping. The artist hardly marked his eyelashes and eyebrows. The peasant has grey flecked medium-length hair covering the ears, but with unical length and carelessly arranged. He is dressed in a whitish cream loose kaftan with a small collar, reaching almost to his knees, and baggy ankle-length pants. He has dirty bare feet. Beside him, under his right hand, the brown hat lay on the ground, carelessly turned upside down. The man must have taken it off during the meal. His face and hair seem sweety as the picture shows a sunny day. The play of light and shadow is strongly evident on the face, hair, and clothes of the man and the boy who is standing on the left, and is also watching the storks in the sky. The boy is tilting his head firmly back, because he is rather looking at dressed in the same way as the peasant, but his kaftan is looser and geared with a dark green piece of cloth, and his right trouser leg is casually rolled up to his collar. The old man's and the boy's kaftans are tied at the neck, but it is not presented clearly, so we can only guess, looking by the yellowish outline of the binding and the neck of the kaftans of both of the characters. On his head, the boy is wearing a firmly settled flat hat in brown hues, its rim in dark brown and the rest is a lighter color. Much of his bright yellow hair is sticking out from under the head. It is reaching his neck when he is tilting his head back. The hair is covered with earth. His face is visible only from the left profile. The boy has a petite nose, small deep-set eyes, like the old man, and a rather big but closed mouth with slightly dropping corners. Both the boy
eyed the men are tanned, but the boys' cheeks have more pinkish shade. The play of light and shadow is mainly visible on the characters' clothes. Creamy and pale pink patches of light in different shades appear on them, and the creases of white cloth become grey. The right of the boy, just below the skyline, where there is a row of several huts, a piece of plowed field is visible, with a pair of oxen working on it, harnessed to the plough. Just a part of the plough can be seen. From behind the silhouette at the first ox you can only see the rump of another animal with a raised up tail, as if the ox is chasing off fleas. On the horizon, situated just above 1/3 of the height of the painting, behind the backs of the characters, there is a roof of several rural cottages, visible mainly from the perspective of the characters. Large thatched roofs reaching at the ground. Only one hut can be seen below the thatch. The visible front wall of the house is the single in the background of the horizontally spaced brown roofs. Between the third and fourth house from the left, a very tall leafless tree, like a venerate poplar, is visible. At the top there is a large empty stork's nest. A supple pink streak is hovering in the sky above the houses. It suggests a sunset or sunrise. Above the layer of light pink clouds there appears a rather strip of non-uniform white cloud. The upper frame has a clear light blue color. The painting is outstanding in terms of color harmony. The touches of the huts, the tree, the field, the oxen and the boy's hat are brown, and even the peasant's hat is dark brown. Brown appears in this picture is different shades. The brown of the character's face and the copper shade of brown of the dish that the old man is holding blend harmoniously with the underdetermined brown color scheme of the other elements mentioned in the painting. The play of color shades influenced by sunlight is a characteristic feature of realistic painting in the first half of the 20th century, represented by Józef Chełmoński.
As the third piece of art, we would like to present a balancing sculpture przechodzący przez rzekę, walker crossing the river, also named linoskoczek, equilibrist, which was placed over the Bruda River in Bydgoszcz on the 1st of May 2004 to commemorate the accession of Poland to the European Union. It was created by Jerzy Kędziora, an artist who probably is more famous and appreciated abroad than in Poland. We think that thanks to his new exhibitions, organized also in Poland, everybody will soon have a chance to see that Jerzy Kędziora is a first-class sculptor, painter, designer and educator who has set a completely new direction in sculpture. It is a new way of exposing sculptures, as well as a new technology of creating them and a new approach to the concept of the presence of art in public space and its complex relations with the viewers and the environment. Balancing sculptures by Kędziora I highly admired in Florida, Monaco, Dubai and in Berlin, where is the biggest collection of them. The majority of his balancing sculptures are in Kędziora's hometown Częstochowa and in the manor house in Tomaszewice near Krakow. But the most important of them is the one chosen by us for description, because it has become a modern symbol of Bydgoszcz. It shows an about 2-meter high figure of a very young naked man wearing a narrow loincloth, covering the genitals with a piece of cloth dangling on a piece of string. He has a sporty but not very athletic body and is standing on a 100-meter-long rope stretched slightly sideways of the Jerzy Sulima-Kamiński bridge, several meters from its left parapet. Walking along the bridge in the direction of the old town, we get from the left side of the Bruda River to the right side, where we can see the old and new granaries, the boulevard of the Old Port, Opera Nova and Młyńska Mill Island on the east. The figure of the equilibrist adds more interest to the beautiful panorama of the right side of the Bruda River. The walker is turned back to all the objects mentioned above, with his front facing the bank river. Standing on the bridge, we see his body very slightly turned towards the parapet, with his left arm and side. We see a young man with his body shaped according to the classical canon of proportion, his shoulders, which are not too broad, flat and muscular stomach, and nice muscles arranged along his ribs. His torso is slightly leaning to the front. He is holding his head above more or less 1/3 of the length of the thigh of his bent left leg, on which he is teetering on the rope. The thigh is arranged almost parallel to the rope, and the knee is resting on a 6-meter rod held by the young man in his right hand and set perfectly perpendicular to the rope, about 50 centimeters above it. The bent leg, supported on the rope, is almost touching the other, straight one. The young man is holding the rod at the height of his knee, which is raised a little below his navel. His right arm holding the rod is only slightly offset from the side of his trunk and stretched to the front and barely bent at the elbow. The knee is touched in the other hand, with the arm identically arranged in relation to the trunk and knee. He is holding, as if for balance, an arrow kept in its middle with his 2 fingers, set parallel to his left side. He looks like a tightrope walker balancing on a rope in one of his spectacular figures. He is maintaining his balance, touching the rope only with one foot, holding it between the big and the second toes. The right leg of the young man is lowered below the rope and stretched perpendicular to it. The muscles of the leg, lowered below the rope, are visibly tense. The patella in the knee pulled up, the foot fully extended and vertical as if he is dancing on tiptoe, and placed perpendicular to the direction of the rope at right angles to it. On the right shoulder, close to the side of the young man's body, there are straps of loosely hanging Roman sandals, one at the front and the other at the back, at waist level. The head of the figure is visible from the bridge mostly from the left profile. It is slightly raised upwards. The young man is looking far ahead, squinting a little. His face betrays no effort, but rather peace. It has regular features, is rather long and slender, with sharply outlined and slightly protruding chin. The young man has a straight prominent nose and medium-sized slightly pursed lips. The upper lip is much narrower than the lower one and almost invisible. The eyes are deep-set and placed close to the nostrils. His face gives the impression as if he is watching the place for which he is heading. In the corners of his mouth and on both sides of his nose, the artist carved small wrinkles. The young man has a very thick mop in a manner reminiscent of ancient sculptures or of a Renaissance David. It creates a compact structure over the head and the average-sized forehead, almost obscuring the ears, and at the back reaching just below the neckline. The hair is layered around the face according to its oval. It encircles its shape with curls twisted down at the ends. It has a deep straight parting in the middle of the head. The parting includes a curly fringe peeling up over the forehead in twisted down curls. In front of the equilibrist, not far from him, a swallow with outspread wings is hanging below the rope, hooked on the rope with its beak. Its right wing is almost parallel to the rope, and the left one is nearly perpendicular to it and strongly inclined to the back. Watching this extraordinary sculpture balancing on a rope, we wonder how it happens that it does not fall. The artist uses the phenomenon of gravity with his talent and scientific consideration. The secret of the figure maintaining a vertical position lies in shifting its center below the rope. The exposure of the walker crossing the river, like of many other similar sculptures, was preceded by many tests in the artist's studio in Poczesna near Częstochowa. The sculptor prepared a detailed documentation of the place where the work was to be installed and then arranged the place before its suspension. As usual, he was helped by professional climbers in placing the sculpture on a rope. As the artist puts up, this and other similarly fascinating sculptures live thanks to the forces of nature. They could be interpreted in many symbolic ways, but it is worth looking at them as suggested by their author, Jerzy Kędziora. Sculptures I create embody an unreal thought experienced by many people, dream of walking on a rope. In this sculpture we can find a lot of intros and hidden messages. For example, the German word for swallow is Schwalbe, which sounds exactly the same as the surname of the founder of the Pomeranian Philharmonic, Andrzej Schwalbe, highly respected for his outstanding contribution to the development of Bydgoszcz, in this way memorized in the sculpture. Many people associate the figure of the walker with that of the spinner, a piece of art created in 1908, which has been a symbol of Bydgoszcz for more than 100 years, due to the presence of Roman sandals, common for